All right, election day. We're like 2 weeks from election day. Isn't that crazy? Except I just misspoke there. Election day is now. That's the kind of country we live in now. Early voting, mail-in voting, all this stuff is so big that election day is every day. It's today, it's tomorrow. And I figured we should probably check in with the real journalist because I most definitely am not one, but Mark Halperin most definitely is. He's the editor-in-chief of Two-Way, host of the morning meeting. Okay, Mark, I am in a bubble. I'm the most partisan person in the world. So when I look at the state of the election right now, I say to myself, Trump has it in the bag. Kamala Harris is a disaster. This thing's going to be a blowout. Please, Mark, bring me back down to earth. Slap me in the face and bring me back down to earth. What's going on in this election?
Well, I think your candidate's ahead and favored, but not by a lot and not without the prospect of Harris winning, even without a change in trajectory. We've got 7 states that are close, 4 in particular I'm watching. Donald Trump has clearly cut in Harris's lead, and Democrats will acknowledge she's behind Trump in several states. But when you've got this many states, 7, that are this close, can't say for sure, and I could make arguments for either one of them. There's strengths and variables on both sides. So I'd say not quite a coin flip, but not a sure thing for either candidate.
Okay. Again, I hear you say things like that, and I know you're right, but it drives me crazy. I can't stand that. How could that be? It should be a blowout. So explain it to me. How could that be? And I'm not saying anyone has to be the biggest Trump fan in the world. I have problems with him myself, but she's so bad, so disastrous that I look and I think no one could ever vote for that. Obviously, I'm wrong. Why am I wrong?
Well, you shouldn't be surprised to know, because I know you're not, that I talk to people all the time who feel the exact same way about your candidate. They can't understand how it could be close. Both of them are flawed. Both of them have ceilings of support. And in the end, it's going to be a question of whose ceiling ends up being lower. Here's the reality. You have a lot of people who, whether they were Republican voters in 2012 or not, who will never vote for Donald Trump. That's just a reality. They just won't vote for him under any circumstances, and they'll vote for Kamala Harris or a third party before they vote for Donald Trump. That puts a ceiling on his support. This is not a guy who's going to win a landslide with, 500, 400 electoral votes or 55% of the popular vote. He'll be lucky to get to 48 or 49. She's got more money. She's got the media on her side. She's a supporter of abortion rights, which is more popular broadly without any nuance than someone who's against abortion rights. And she's running against a guy who, as I said, has made a lot of political enemies who just simply won't vote for him. And while they're not enthusiastic about her, they'll vote for her. It's strange to me that with those variables, you put those in the blender with all the things that Donald Trump has going for him. It's strange that somehow in 50-50 nation, that ends up with 7 close states. You could imagine her advantages being either not offset or totally offset by Trump's advantages. And yet somehow, again, you throw all the variables in the blender and they're pretty close right now in all 7 states.
Mark, what's his path to 270? Because everyone knows that number. Everyone who does what we do, everyone who watches me, you, we all know that number. How does Donald Trump get there?
The simplest way to think about it is to imagine him winning 3 states where I think he's well positioned right now. Not a sure thing, but Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia. If he wins those 3, then he simply needs to win one of the 3 big Midwestern or Great Lakes states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Wisconsin. So that's, I think, the easiest way to think about a Trump victory. The 3 Sunbelt states and 1 Great Lakes state, and he's president.
What's hers?
Well, her best path is the path that Joe Biden had, but it's a single path that leads to exactly 270. You recall moments ago, I said Trump could win any one of the 3 Great Lakes states to win. Her easiest path is to win all 3 Great Lakes states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And then Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, as your viewers know, Nebraska allocates its electoral votes like Maine and like no other state. So that gets her to exactly 270, no margin of error. And again, that's where Joe Biden was before his debate. He had that one electoral college path too. She's showing strength in the Sun Belt. So does she have other paths besides that one to exactly 270? She does, but it involves winning Sun Belt states And right now, my sources in both parties say that that's not something she can count on as a way to get to the White House.
I see, obviously, the big messaging of the campaign. It appears that their message is, as you alluded to earlier, vote for me, I'll allow you to have all the abortions you want. Trump's campaign seems to be, vote for me, I will fix the immigration system, and I'll fix inflation. On a larger level, those appear to be the main things that are working, or at least the campaigns think they are working. What isn't working? What is she talking about that is either hurting her or not helping? And what is he talking about that's doing the same?
Well, I'll take a respectful issue with how you characterize their arguments, because really right now they're both turning more towards negative arguments. And she says he's unhinged, he's unsteady, he's not qualified to be president. She's going for like a full knockout, saying this guy's not just a bad choice, he's unqualified. And the Trump campaign have used the same 4 words about her from the beginning: that she's failed, that she's dangerously liberal, and that she's I'm always forgetting the 4th word. I'm like Rick Perry. Failed, dangerously liberal, and untested. That's not the right word. Anyway, there's a 4th word. It'll come to me. So the negative frames are big. What I think is not working, ironically, is they both have problems that are their main problems with the undecided voters, and neither of them is doing that good a job of addressing them. Hers is policy, the P word of policy. Again, she's not crossed the bar of good steward of a good economy, fierce commander-in-chief, and people wonder what she's about. Trump's P word problem is personality, and we saw over the weekend a pretty extraordinary attempt to address that. Going to a Steelers game, working at the McDonald's, hanging out in a barber shop in New York City. These are all attempts to try to get people to see him in a different light. Hard to do with somebody who's been around as much as he has. Failed is the other word. Failed. So it's a battle to define the other person as negative and to define themselves in more positive ways. And like I said, what I think is not working for her is she's not defining herself positive enough. I think Trump has got more momentum right now, so it's harder to say what's not working for him. But I think he's failed to convince the people who doubt about his personality that he's truly someone that they'd be comfortable with for 4 years, behaving the way he does, which even as you know, some of his supporters are not fully in love with.
I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.